Here are 10 things every motorcycle rider should have. Starting off with something that is quite often overlooked and something that we definitely need in the moments when we don't have one. Take for example when I passed my test the month before, I already had my motorcycle, but because I hadn't started it up for over a month, I know that's bad, please don't hate me, I found it to be dead. So I picked one of these up. This is the Optimate 4 Quad Program battery charger, and within a couple of hours I was back on the road. So this is something that you definitely want in your garage and something that can actually work as a trickle charger, so it will maintain the battery level without it going over the top, so it doesn't overcharge your battery. It can charge lithium and even lead acid batteries and can recover batteries at as low as 0.5 volts, I believe. So definitely something that you need to have in your arsenal. So the next item on my list is something that I can't really live without and something that I use on a daily basis when I'm out riding. And that of course is a balaclava. It's such a cheap little item that you can add to your list, and it's just convenient to have, and it's as low as £10. This is the Oxford Balaclava. The purpose of it is purely so that you can defend yourself against wind chills, especially if you're someone that rides throughout the winter. So when you're going along the road, when you have one of these on, it's actually less uncomfortable as to if you didn't have one on at all. Now you can also opt for a wind buff if you don't want something to cover the entirety of your head, but definitely something that you should consider. Next is any sort of navigational tool. If you're anything like me, my orienteering skills or navigational skills is subpar. So I've chosen the Garmin Zumo XT as well as the Beeline Moto because it does cater for all kinds of riders. If you want a big screen with a big interface, then you can opt for the Garmin so you can actually see your route. With both of these, you can pre-plan your routes as well, which makes the journey that you take 10 times better. If you're like me that has like a retro bike, I have a Triumph Bonneville, I would probably go for a Beeline Moto because it doesn't take away from the silhouette of the bike. That's the reason why you got it at the end of the day. And it also fits the style quite nicely, and it's a cool little quirky convenient item that you can have that does the same function of getting you from A to B as well as some pre-planned routes. Moving on to something that's maybe a cheaper option and something more appealing to other riders is actually having a phone mount. So you can opt for like a Quad Lock, SP Connect, or even Ultimate add-ons depending on what you want to use it for. Now personally, if I was to use one, the purpose for it would be to take away the bulky items from my jacket so I can relieve some of that space for extra storage for something else. Also having it onto your handlebars just means that you can access your navigation at the side of the road as well as other apps if you need to. So for me, when I'm recording my journeys, because I do that quite often with my GoPro, it means that I can access my GoPro Quick app at the side of the road, which is nice and convenient. It's super secure, sturdy, and safe to have on your handlebars. Next is safety and security of your pride and joy. So for me, that would be like a lock. The reason why we'd get a lock is to actually prevent the chances of someone stealing our motorcycle. Now, no lock is created equal, and if a thief really wants your motorcycle, they'll find a way to get it. But having these as defensive measures might either deter or take them longer to do so. So why not have one? So the ones that I would suggest is either the ABUS 8077, which I don't actually have on hand at the moment, but an alternative as well, which is also just as good in my opinion, is the Covix Overlord, which is the KNX10, if you wanted to look that up. But then there's also other measures in where you can go over the top if you really want to look after your motorcycle. I have to just grab it just 1 second. You can opt for the Squire Colossus. And believe it or not, this is not the biggest, safest Squire lock that they produce. And this is its little brother. There's a thing called the Behemoth, which is the slightest bit bigger than this. But if you wanted to take security to the next level, then something like this would probably be your best option. The reason why I say you would go for this over something like this is purely because if you're commuting or traveling, this is going to be a lot easier to carry around with you than this. This is more like a stay-at-home security item. Now, staying on the topic of security, something that you can add on top of your locks, your disc locks, or even your chain locks, is possibly opting for a tracker. Now, something that we stock at Infinity is the Monimoto 7. This is a tracker that you stick somewhere in your bike in an undisclosed area so no one can find it, but how this works is via GPS. So a SIM card will be in this. You're subscribed for the first 2 months for free, but it allows you to track your bike wherever it is. You'll get a notification if something moves, and the batteries in this last over a year. definitely something to consider, and it's something that can be stored away and forgotten about for a year. Just make a yearly reminder in your calendar to replace the batteries. Again, super simple item, but people seem to always put off getting one. It's actually a bike cover. The purpose of having a bike cover, and the reason why it's in my list, is so that you can protect your pride and joy. So even if it's in a garage, it stops the dust from like adhering to your motorcycle. And if you're outside, or you leave your motorcycle outside even, then having a bike cover is definitely something you need to get. My suggestion would be either getting like an Oxford Aquatex or even a Stormex. If you want to take it up to the next level, what I've got at home now is an Armadillo Bike It cover. Now what that does is it pretty much makes a tent for your motorcycle, so it's nicely tucked away and away from any damage. So small items like branches and stuff falling onto your cover won't damage the paintwork of your bike. This will do a decent job, but the Armadillo will do an even better job. It's completely down to personal preference, but if I were you, if you really love your bike, then an Armadillo cover would be a good option. We've actually got a whole video on that in the card above. Next, this is possibly personal preference, but for me, definitely needs to be within this list, is an intercom system. If you're anything like me, then you like riding with your friends. Now, recently I heard a story of someone who's talking about how they used to ride with their friends without comm systems, and how they do like a 9 to 5. So when they go out for a ride, they don't actually talk to each other or talk anything about outside of the work life, if that makes sense. The only time they would talk to each other is when they stop over to get some petrol, and then by that point, you're again only talking about the bike and then going home. So this is where intercoms can actually help. So if you get yourself like a Cardo, an Interphone or a Senna, then it's something that you can enjoy with your friends. It's something that you can actually use while in the moment when you're out riding with your friends. You can communicate to them, tell them the things that are happening in front, like possibly a police car up ahead or something similar, where you wouldn't be able to if you didn't have an intercom system. Now, personally for me, the reason why I've got one is purely because I want to be able to hear the navigation, because like I said earlier, my orienteering skills or my navigational skills is not the best. Now, I run a Cardo Packtalk Edge intercom system, and that allows me to do everything that I want. This is the top of the range that intercom system that Cardo produce, but it's not always going to be the one that you should go for. You should find something that caters for all your needs. So if you're a lone wolf and you like riding by yourself, then maybe opt for something a little bit cheaper, or have something that actually only does the things you want it to do, like navigation and your music. Now, these come in at different price points, and it's completely down to you, and my suggestion would be get down to one of the 16 UK stores that Infinity have and speak to them to find out which one is best for you and your budget. Moving on to the next item is a camera. For me personally, I feel like we should be able to record our journeys and have something to look back on. But some other people might opt for a different camera for different reasons. Now, the GoPro does a really good job of what I just said, but if you want something in its purest form, just there as a sense of safety or a defensive measure in the event they have an accident, as we all know, bikers always are blamed first for the accident or the incident. Opt for getting something like a Global Eagle, where its sole purpose is to record as a dash cam. So it would rewrite over the top of footage over a period of time, and you don't have to worry about it losing charge or running out of battery, because it's directly connected to your motorcycle. If you want something that's like a perfect in-between that does really good quality video, but also has a decent battery life, then maybe opt for the Drift Ghost XL, because for me, in my eyes, it's the perfect mix of both. Right, the last item I want to talk about is actually something new to Infinity, and this is Visiodry. So if you're someone like me that rides in all kinds of weather, this helps you not get caught out in the rain. So you won't get blinded by all the rain that's landing on your visor. So this is Visiodry. It's super hydrophobic. How it works is it gets characteristics from like a lotus leaf. So a lotus leaf has a water droplet that falls onto the leaf, but it's actually carried by an air cushion to prevent it from sticking onto the said leaf. This is called the lotus effect. So this does pretty much exactly the same, if not better. I've coated one side of this with Visiodry, and the other side does not have any coating on it. And you'll see the water stick to the actual visor. So if I get some in my hand, you'll see it's just sticking completely there. But if I chuck it onto the other side with, again, a little handful of water, it should sit, in theory, just bounce off like that. Isn't that crazy? But it's something that we should all have in our little arsenal and something that we can carry around in our back pocket. So these are just my 10 ideas or must-haves that every rider should have. Now, I know it might not be everything that you guys are thinking, so please leave it down in the comments what you would suggest to be added to this list. If you did like this video, give us a like, comment down below your favorite thing that I spoke about today. Be sure to subscribe, ride safe, and see you all soon.